Hi, my name's Natty, and I used to be a men's rights activist. And I've been talking a lot about the central worldview that men's rights people, their ideological positioning is that the West is gynocentric. Now, I keep hearing from people saying to me, oh, nobody knows what gynocentrism is, no one cares, and they don't understand who Peter Wright is and what he thinks and his writings. And I think it's very interesting because, I think it's important for us to understand the history of ideas and to understand that when a term gets popularized, it doesn't just arise out of nowhere. Often it will be adhering or tapping into something that an unease that a lot of people are feeling, or a sense of something, like I went over in my other video about how there are some elements of gynocentrism or a feeling that women are being favored in some way in society that men may be picking up on, right? I'm not denying that people's biases in that exist. So I'm going to address why all anti-feminist positioning falls back into the gynocentric worldview and frame. All right, so let's just go over it again. In Peter Wright's central claim of Gynocentrism Theory, Western culture is gynocentric. It structurally centers women, idealizing them, protecting them, and privileging their needs at the expense of men. His roots in this medieval Mariology and courtly love, men became knights and servants, women became exalted figures, according to him. And modern feminism, in his view, is not a rupture, but the continuation of this women-centered order. So for Wright, the axis of society is always for women, around women, whether as queens to be served or as victims to be protected. All right. Even when people haven't read Wright's theory, their arguments often presuppose his categories. Why is that? Well, feminism already frames the conversation around women. Feminism says society is male-dominated and women must be centered to correct it. I'm not sure they're saying that women should be centered. I think they're saying they want women to be equal, but people argue that that is what they're saying. Anti-feminism. Society already centers women too much. Men are exploited. Both share the same premise. Society revolves around women. Interesting, because it was feminists that used the term gynocentrism in the 1970s to critique it. Anti-feminists need an explanatory story. If feminism isn't simply wrong, then why has it spread so deeply in Western institutions? Wright's theory provides the ready-made story because the West has always been gynocentric. He says the binary is baked in. Anti-feminists who lean traditional or patriarchal, women are central because of their bodies. Remember what I was talking about, how the gender essentialist trad composition is body over mind. Anti-feminists who lean men's rights, more libertarian, more egalitarian, women are central because society overprotects them and demands male sacrifice, which goes back to the position of they need to be more rational, the mind over the body. Two opposite evaluations, but both still locate the center of gravity in women. So even if someone hasn't read Peter Wright, they're standing in this field that he cultivated. His language and framework have become the default grammar of anti-feminist discourse. I know as well that Peter and Paul and all of the guys from AVFM, they were very influential in the conversation in the early 2000s that was going on between the egalitarian side, the gender essentialist or tradcon side, which is the more like pickup artist, evolutionary psych, even though Peter uses evolutionary psych too. These two opposites, as I went into in another video, they're not actually from two different positions. They come to the same conclusion and they started at the same root. Now, the deeper issue, according to me, is whether women are idealized via patriarchy or essentialism, or resented via the men's rights and anti-feminist framing. They are still reduced to a function, either body, which is like just their motherhood, their fertility, or their mind, their rational competitor. Remember what I was saying about mind, body, and soul? Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, soul. You know? That's why both sides ends up unpersoning women, not treating them as whole persons, but as fragments. Right's gynocentrism theory supplies the lens for this reduction. Women are the cultural axis, either pampered or exploited. Oh, look, it's Madonna or whore again. Madonna whore complex, right? Now, as an Orthodox Christian, this is the counter frame that we have. Orthodoxy doesn't accept the gynocentric premise at all. Man and women are not rival centers. The center of life is Christ, not gender. Human beings are whole persons, body, soul, and spirit, or the Holy Spirit, not fragments to be elevated or denigrated. This means orthodoxy can affirm dignity without idolizing and critique sin without demeaning. It refuses the gynocentric trap entirely. So every anti-feminist position today, knowingly or not, rests on Peter Wright's gynocentrism because feminism itself defined the cultural debate around women. Anti-feminism flips the value judgment but keeps the same frame: women is the center of history. Wright's theory crystallized that frame in modern discourse, so even though those who've never read him argue as though they had. So when I talk to people online and they say, I've never heard of gynocentrism or Peter Wright, although many of the content creators they've listened to have absolutely heard of gynocentrism theory, but a lot of people just pick up on tropes and ideas that are floating around social media and the culture, or they listen to, one of the really main dumbed down figures like Andrew Tate or something. There is a progression and a genealogy and a timeline of ideas. And this idea, the counter narrative to do with gynocentrism, is the result of Peter Wright's work. It wouldn't exist if it wasn't for his work. And the gender essentialist side, they were having a conversation around the same time. They influenced each other and they fell out as well. If you trace the history back, you won't find anyone else saying what gynocentrism means now before him in the way that he's doing it now, the way that it's being discussed now. It was used sporadically in the 1900s and the 1970s by feminists, and it was never a fleshed out narrative. The ideas about anti-feminism, the response to feminism, have all been deeply influenced by this stuff. And as I've already gone through in my little speech about how the framework is exactly the same, you just can't, I don't think you can argue against that. Now, the other thing as well is that Peter Wright was very, and he still is, he operates in a kind of manipulative, groomy fashion. And I'm okay with saying that on a video publicly because there are people that are willing to come out and speak about it, like Dean Esme, who have been ostracized and smeared by him. He goes around behind the scenes and he gets to know people and he gets friendly with them, even though he's anonymous on the internet and Peter's not his real name. And he sort of mentors them, or maybe they don't even know that they're being mentored by him. He does that kind of I'm just being friendly, I'm just giving you some stuff to talk about. And what tends to happen is if you don't follow his talking points, he will send his little troll army to smear your reputation. And I'm happy to be on record in saying that's how he operates because I have evidence and I have a whistleblower who's willing to go on record and has done already to say this about him. I'm not making this video to attack him as a person. I'm just trying to give an insight into how he operates. There are lots of people who find vulnerable people online and they will do this kind of thing. They're trying to start a cult. They have a new ideology. They have a cult personality. They want a following, and they may use certain tactics. So I just think it's important to bring that up as well, that it's not just that this was like an idea that kind of went into the ether. He actually, as a person, has engaged directly in backdoor influencing. A bit like, I don't know, Littlefinger, whatever his name is in Game of Thrones, you know? And I'm happy to talk to him if he would like to talk to me, you know, on video or something. No problem. Anyway, God bless, and thank you for listening.